so success leaves clues.
I love that.
And so I wanted to find those clues.
Yeah.
And kind of find that path.
Adjust your mindset is so important, because at the end of the day, our minds are programmable.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that it was so bizarre for me to figure out when I was young, is you can program your mind to think a certain way. And if you realize at a young age that you can control what you think, you can control what you turn into, which is, I think that's a fascinating thing to dive into. So this is part of a new series that I want to introduce, where I have conversations with industry leaders or people that are doing things in the hockey space that are very unique, very different from what you typically get to see, more of a behind the scenes look. And while I was talking with Gustav earlier on today, and he was telling me the story of StarZone Sports, which is where we are right now in Sweden, I thought it was a pretty awesome story, but one that I don't think has been shared online, right?
No.
So I think this was definitely the inception for the idea of having these sit-down talks. Hopefully you guys will enjoy it. But what we're going to be focusing on today is, of course, you and the story of StarZone. So can you give me a bit of background story about how you got into hockey, which actually came from you asking me how I got into hockey. So that was kind of pretty cool. So what was your story? What was your journey into getting into the game?
Well, I started when probably I was 6 years old, but I was struggling as a kid. I grew a lot, and I was uncoordinated, probably a little bit overweight, and my feet grew very fast. So everything was uncoordinated, and I had a tough time when I was playing, and I didn't really enjoy myself, so I decided to quit hockey. But then at my school, a friend of mine, he was constantly on me and asked if I couldn't join him at his team. So this was a different team, and the team hadn't won in 2 years. They were really struggling, but he was so persistent that I decided to join him at the practices, and there were no coaches there. We were just there was a bunch of kids just
messing around.
Just messing around.
Yeah.
Some guys were shooting slap shots in the board, but I really enjoyed it because there were. My friend was there, and I knew the other guys, and so we had fun. And eventually, my dad, that was loved hockey. He decided that he wanted to help the team. So he with his limited knowledge, he stepped on the ice, and from there we started to practice, and my passion grew. It got ignited by being in that environment, and just remember that I was curious because I wanted to watch other players in my own age, how good they are. So I remember me and my dad went to a practice to watch one of those AAA teams, and there was one player that I spotted that he was amazing. He was just flying over the ice and so skilled. So I remember asking my dad, "Wow, can you be this good when you're in this age?" And they said, "Yeah." And then I asked, "Was it possible for me to become this good?" And then he looked into my eyes and said, "Well, you need to train and practice a lot." And that's where my belief was born that, okay, I was a struggling kid and uncoordinated, but eventually I was probably around 13, 14 at the time.
Yeah.
And so I started to be fanatic about training, and I wanted to. I was very curious about what is the difference that makes the difference among players. Why are some so good and some are really struggling? And what's behind that? What's the science behind the developing? And most coaches at the time, they were just saying, "Well, this guy, he has God-given hands, and he has talent." you know, so.
But that's not always the case, right?
No.
I think there's a mix. Of course, you get certain players, certain people that are freakishly talented at something. It's almost like that's their calling. But there's a saying that I think will resonate with you. I'm sure you've heard it before. It's hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, right?
Yes.
It's, you know, if someone has the right mindset, the right determination, what they're able to achieve can be pretty much endless.
The results you can achieve with hard work and a lot of passion behind it. No one knows how good you can get. So that was my journey to find that out.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to figure out. So success leaves clues.
I love that.
And so I wanted to find those clues.
Yeah.
And kind of find that path. And remember reading. My dad had coaching material that he got from the Swedish Ice Hockey Federation. I was digging through that, watching the old VHS videotapes of instruction videos.
Depending how old some of the audience is, they might not know what VHS is. Yeah.
It's the big video.
I remember, I was born in 1988, so I was the perfect crossover where we saw all the analog and then into the digital. Yeah. But I know if you were born 5 years after me, you have no idea what VHS is. So, no, but please go on.
No, I was digging through books, videotapes, and today you can find so much information on YouTube.
Archives and stuff like that, yeah.
But back then it was, I had no clue. And I was very determined to find that out. Mm-hmm. I wanted to know what are those clues that lead success. And one book that I read that was translated from Russian to Swedish was about Anatoly Tarasov, that was the founder of Soviet hockey. And reading that book, I was very inspired because he explained his view of hockey and what he thought how hockey would be played in the future.
Yeah.
And much of what he had written in the book is what we see today. So
he essentially predicted the path of what was going to happen in the game.
And for me it made sense. So he basically said everyone have to, you need to practice your skills, your skating. Yeah, and the Soviet system was not based on static positions, more that game situational situations. So leaving the door open for creativity and adapt depending on the situations, but all players working together. So that's where also the athleticism came into place. The mindset of how he saw hockey was just made sense, and watching the Soviets play at the time, they played a very skilled game, but moving around, changing positions. But at the time I couldn't figure out. I just saw that the way they played, it made sense. So that left a clue for me that, okay, they're doing something different, and they train. I heard that they train a lot. They practice every day, and so I decided to work on my skating on my own, trying to figure out how to do it, and with the stick handling and shooting. But was no one really told me how to do it. I just took that limited information that I have, and then watching them play against the Swedish hockey team, and try to mimic what I saw on the games. And
I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
that's how I learned how to skate, how I learned how to stop, just by mimicking what I saw people at the arenas doing.
Yeah,
I can definitely relate to that.
So that curiosity, the mindset of it, I'm still searching for new ways, effective ways how to train and develop players. And then after a while, I was at a camp called Hockey Camp Sweden, and it was founded by a coach. His name is Wallner Persson. He doesn't live anymore, but he was also working as an interpreter. So when the Soviet team came to Sweden and visiting, he spoke Russian, and he brought in a coach from Russia and also Canada, different experts, and at the time I was 17, and I learned so much in that week of not only skills but also the mindset of we had a Canadian coach that was talking about goal setting. He would have audio tapes to help us to get into a relaxed state and visualize goal scoring.
Jeez, so it's very cognitive based.
Very cognitive based,
Yeah.
and basically the structure was skating and stick handling and shooting. Eventually, they brought in a shooting coach, and at the time it was very rare that you would have someone teaching exactly the skills behind the shooting. So they were ahead of their time, but for me it was, wow, I got all these pieces, but still not trying to the missing part was the way the model of playing the game like the Soviets did, with everyone being so dynamic and moving the situations. How do you actually teach that? That was sort of the missing link. The skill part, I understood that, and just a lot of grind. I picked up my game, but then moving to Canada. So I moved from Sweden to Canada. I wanted to play college hockey. I thought it was cool to study and play hockey, and that was their program was linked together. And so in Canada, it was also very interesting. So I played 1 year of juniors before college, going to the U.S., and their perspective of competitiveness and toughness in the game, that was another part. So that was also interesting. But it wasn't until I moved back to Sweden where I was working together with a coach called Per Wirén, and he also loved the way the Soviets were playing, and the way he was teaching it. There was a junior team. He never did like the traditional practices that working on power play or box play or breakouts. It was more different. He called it breaking the pattern of practices where players had to think of multiple steps, and it was a constant flow of things. And then when we when they played the game, there was always 3-on-3s, small area or full ice, which makes a little bit sense that everyone is more involved in the game. And when you play 3-on-3, it's naturally you're changing positions.
Yeah, it's a faster paced. So you're having to think and process things much quicker.
Yeah, much quicker, and the situations shift back and forth. And so going from tight area to big space.
Yeah.
And I saw the development of the player and how they started to, in the games, changing positions. And interestingly, the power play were very effective, because when you think about hockey, if you're offensively, you try to be deceptive. It's like a chess game where the opponent is trying to predict your next move.
Yeah.
But if you're changing the patterns,
It's harder to predict.
Much harder to predict, and that's when the game is opening up. Of course, there was in the beginning. It took a while for the players to adapt to that, but after a while, making some mistakes, but with some training, they started to be more and more dynamic, and so that's where one important piece came together.
Yeah.
And so when I'm looking back to my story, coming from being the worst player on my team, that helped me a lot, I think, as a coach, to believe in the capacity of a player. If they have a dream and they have a passion for it, it's very hard to know how far a player can get. And another important part is that even if you don't make it all the way, I didn't make it to the NHL. I got to a tryout for a farm team, but it doesn't matter. The journey is what's so important.
I agree, and I think something that was touched on earlier about you saying you were the worst player on the team, we spoke about how being at the bottom is in some ways a great position to be in, because it means there's nowhere else left to go but up.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
I think if you have that mindset, if you're like, okay, I'm the worst on the team, but it's just up from here now.
then you have your dream, and there is a path that you can find and move forward. If I would have known what I know today, I think the time of being of course I would have been more effective knowing what steps to take. But as a coach, if I would have learned this in an early age, I probably wouldn't have remembered all the different parts, all the clues that leaves for success. So it's helped me a lot when teaching players.
What would you say is the biggest tip that you've been able to get, whether it's if it's a few points, like maybe 3 or 4 points, or just one flat out rule that you've kind of applied to the way that you live and the way that you grow what you do and continue to grow? What would you say? Is there a way that you can isolate it, or is it a grouping of different things all coming together?
I think the number one, the most important thing, and it comes back to belief, the power of belief. Without that, it's very hard. But when you have the belief, and that from that mindset, your mind will be open up and see the opportunities when they arise. But let's say I wouldn't have believed in it, I probably wouldn't have recognized the opportunities coming forth.
I completely relate to that. It comes down to the law of attraction, I think is what it's named today. And that's something that I 100% live by. I've got friends and family that say that I'm lucky. In the UK we say jammy. He's jammy, he's a jammy guy. And it's not because I'm jammy, I think it's because I have almost a sense of delusional optimism. My optimism isn't crazy, but it's at the point where some people look at it and go, that's not a realistic thing to aim for. And in my mind I'm like, why not? Why would you set the bar low when you can set the bar high? And we spoke while we were having coffee earlier about how if a nice Ferrari drives by, and I know people that will be like, oh, I'll never have that. And in my mind, I'm like, you're not going to, because you've just told yourself that you're never going to have it. And your brain will adjust the way that it perceives the world based off of the fact that that's actually what you believe. Now, if you believed, oh, yeah, I'm going to have that, You will. You'll find a way.
Yeah.
You'll be able to see patterns and connect dots that people might not see if they think differently. And I think that can be applied to the same mechanics that you're talking about now. You have no idea how high you can go if you have the right mindset.
Exactly. I've studied because one part of my, you have the physical part, the skills and the athleticism and learning the game, but the mental part of it, I was the difference between being on my high and the low was quite big.
Yeah.
So that forced me to dive into another part. Okay, what success leaves clues, but it have to be something about how these successful players, how they think. So that made me study something called NLP and also hypnosis, and there was a book by Tony Robbins that used NLP, but the way he wrote it made so much sense. So just how you picture things, how you communicate with yourself, ultimately that will affect your state of mind. And depending on what state of mind you are, that's when you're opening up the filter, so when the opportunity comes,
you can
recognize it.
Yeah.
And you can seize the opportunity and take it.
I think that's a big thing. I think that's a really, really big thing, because a lot of people feel like somebody has better chances and better opportunities than they do. And of course, in some cases that can be true, but a lot of the times it's because someone is better geared at recognizing an opportunity than another person isn't.
Yeah.
And I remember instances of, you would do something for free because you weren't thinking, oh, how do I get paid for that? You're thinking, actually, if I do that, I think that could give me exposure to that, which could then open that door. And some people can't make links like that. No. Because it's a mindset thing, and it's why being able to program yourself and adjust your mindset is so important, because at the end of the day, our minds are programmable.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that it was so bizarre for me to figure out when I was young, is you can program your mind to think a certain way. And if you realize at a young age that you can control what you think, you can control what you turn into, which is, I think that's a fascinating thing to dive into. And I'm sure there's so many things out there, tools out there today that will help people get a better understanding of that. But understanding that your brain is like a video game or a code that you can adapt is so important.
There was an interesting study that I made in US, and that also blew my mind. But basically what they did was they took a basketball team and divided them into 3 groups. So before the study, they measured the amount of 3-point shots, and they had a baseline for the result. And then after that, the one group were going off doing something else, nothing to do with basketball, and another group were practicing their 3-point shots, and then the third group were visualizing it, using sounds and to strengthen those images. So that group would only lay down and visualize
no
the
physical
shot
training
over and over and over again, and then the other group practicing like a normal practice. And then all these 3 groups came back and they did the test again. Here's the amazing part, is that, well, the group that did nothing, there no improvement. The second group that were practicing, of course, that they saw improvement, but here the third group that had been visualizing it, they had reached almost the same improvement as the group that actually practiced it. So that tells me that, when you visualize something very vividly and with feeling and energy, it's teaching your neuromuscular system, it's like everyone had probably been in a dream that was felt so true.
Yeah.
And you twitch, and you because your muscles don't know if it's real or not. So this is a way to program your body to be in a situation over and over again. And when it actually happens, it's like you have done it 1,000 times. And I'm sure we've heard of, I think more in individual sports, I think they use visualization a lot. But that's one side of the mental training. The other part is to be able to manage your state of mind, because here comes challenges. It's like the wind is blowing, and you need to still steer your ship in the direction you want to go. So state management is another very important part. So you keep your focus, and also if you're aware of, okay, where my mind is right now, okay, how to snap out of that and get back on track. So there is three parts of that. It's how, for example, if you score, what happens when you score a goal? You celebrate,
yeah.
Right? And and some people yell out, scream out, yes, and that becomes a trigger. But we're waiting for us to score the goal, and then we celebrate, right? Mm-hmm. So I had one player that had some challenge with their scoring. They were in a slump, hadn't scored some goals for a while, and they got really frustrated. And then they started doubts started to creep in, and I can't shoot anymore. It's the stick's fault. It's
I've heard that before. This is where we see pro players switching from one brand to another. No names. No names. Yeah, but I know exactly what you mean.
So using this, using what I know about state management, trying to use that. Okay, we know that we have that trigger of celebrating. Mm-hmm. So what if we start with the celebration before we score the goal? And visually, you visualize, you see yourself scoring the goal, and then you celebrate. Then what happens is that you change. You're going to feel different when you do it. But the key is that you have to do it with the same intensity as it would actually happen.
Yeah.
And I tried this over and over again, and so I usually use a scale from when you hit a 10, that's the same feeling like you actually scored a goal, and you want to get as close to that. So when the player would do this, after a while, what would happen is that it's like an old record. If you play the same music again and again and again, you're gonna hear the same song. So you have to switch. You have to scratch that record. Now you're shifting your mind, and they start to score again. So it's just one example how state of mind can change.
And how important it is.
Yeah. But of course, in the beginning, it feels kind of awkward to do your celebration before you score a goal. But it's almost like a rule that I'm not allowed to celebrate before I have scored a goal. But what happens when a player scored their first goal? I usually ask this to a player. What happens after you score that first goal? How do you feel? Well, I feel really good. Does that increase your chances of scoring the second goal?
It does.
It usually does.
Yeah. So if you feel good and you believe that you're going to score, because in your mind you already have, you're going to score.
Your shoulders drop, you feel more, a little bit more relaxed, and you feel confident. So what if you can feel that before? So that's the key.
That's such a good point.
So instead of waiting for the opportunity to come to you, you change your mindset, and you're attracting that opportunity.
Law of attraction. No, I like it. After your tryouts with the NHL farm team, how did that circle back to you becoming a coach? What was the catalyst that that kind of made you realize this is where I want to be, this is what I want to do?
But at the time, I don't think I had really set my mind. I'm going to become a coach. So I had an opportunity after the tryout to come to Anchorage in Alaska. They were going to open up a training center. And I had just finished my internship in the summer. So my major is in health and exercise science, and I had to do an internship. And when I saw this training center with a skate mill and shooting area, for me it was like, wow, this is the best place to develop. And so that was I got that opportunity. I was flying to Alaska, barely knew the owner at the time, but I saw it as an adventure. And at the time when I was training not only hockey players but also athletes. So the program was about speed and speed training. So, but in the majority of the players, because of the owner as well, I think he was a former NHL player. He had a lot of hockey players coming there, and I was teaching players to skate on a skate mill. And then I had players asking me do you also do this on ice? Yeah, I do. So I was starting to give a little bit of some skating lessons, and that led into doing stick handling and shooting, because I saw that, okay, this player needs more than just skating. There's so many other parts of it. And then eventually a team asked me, do you coach? So I haven't been part of a team, but I saw it as a great opportunity, and just naturally that for me that fell into place. But it leads back to my passion, and I remember the coach. This was in Alaska, and he liked the way how the philosophy of working with skills and skating, rather than jump into now let's work on power play and box play.
Yeah.
So he had me for a month. We were working on inside and outside edges.
Oh my goodness.
And parents were mad because they felt stressed. We have to work on power play and box play. And he was sort of no, let's focus on this. And after a while, when they were starting to move more smoothly and having, it leads back to having control of your body and control the puck. Of course, the passes will be better.
Yeah.
And when you have control of your body, you can also open up your mind and start focusing on the play. But if you're not quite control of your body, you have to think about skating and the puck control, and your vision will be down rather than up around you. So I enjoyed it. That was something so going more from working with individuals to a team, that's also another challenge. How do you get as many players as possible to develop? That was something that was challenging, because when you have one player, you can focus on their particular strengths and weaknesses. Yeah. But when you have a whole team, in the beginning, I saw so many things that each person needed to do, and that's so you have to find a way to address all this, and still, folks being able to talk to each individual. But in the team setting, that was also. I remember we played. There was in the league. It was kind of interestingly structured, but they had the league started in the beginning, and then some kids were in high school and some kids were not, because they were dividing if you were born early or late in the year. So half the group went on playing high school hockey, and the other half were still in the team, but we have no games to play. So the only team there was one team we could play, and that was Fairbanks, which is way up 8 hours north of Anchorage. So we played them 8 times. And after a while, they got a little bit bored, and we had this game early in the morning. And then I was thinking, okay, this is a good opportunity. If they can learn how to switch their mind 8 o'clock in the morning to make this game the most important game they ever played, then the kids will learn something about the mindset.
Yeah.
So I got them. I remember playing music, working on that trigger with celebrating a goal in the beginning. Of course, they were a little bit tired.
I can imagine, long drive.
Long drive.
Yeah.
But doing that for a while, after a while, their state of mind was, they were filled of energy.
Yeah.
So when they played the game, they were flying out there. And then afterwards, I asked them, so now you understand that doesn't matter what time it is in the day, and it doesn't matter if you play them before. It's all about the mindset. So that was sort of trigger point for. But that part of coaching is really interesting. So much to learn, and I try to pick up things from other coaches, and I think conversations like this, you always, if you're curious, it's always about to learn new things.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think there is, back to that one question you asked, if there's something so we have the mindset and belief, but be curious, be open for that's. If you want to develop in any business or anything, I think you have to be curious and open-minded.
Yeah.
Then you will pick up on new things.
I think valuable information doesn't always come from obvious places. It's the way that, we've had conversations in the past about how you can see something that has nothing to do with hockey or what we do, but you can find tips and mindsets or perspectives or things that you can adapt as a person, as a player, as a coach, as a creator, that you can apply to your field and run with it.
Absolutely.
I think that only comes like what you said, is if you're curious, if you're open to receiving the information that's out there, and then coming back to what we said earlier about then again being able to recognize it as an opportunity.
There's, I know you call it scissor passes when you have two players crossing, and then you do it's called a scissor pass, or like a draw. You drop it, but you come across. It's a change of a position. And Tarasov was he got that from basketball, where and also rugby, where you cross.
Yeah.
So that's something that he took from there, and which when hockey players do it, it's a very good way to change position, and also a very good practice exercise for kids, because it keeps them, they have to do it together. So it works
keeps them in sync.
It keeps them in sync. So so curiosity is so important to be open on new ways, take influence from other sports or other fields. So that's one big part, I think, is besides the mental training, is also cognitive training. Today we have technology that it's called we have blaze pods, the lights, how you can spread them out. So when you tell the kids, keep your head up, well, they keep their head up. But when you have the lights, they have something to look for.
Yeah.
And
it forces them to.
Forces them to look, and also you can set the lights in different speeds. So that means that they have to, let's say you have 4 lights around you, they have to constantly look for the red light, for example. And let's say it only blinks half a second, so it forces them to look very quickly. So a technology like that, it's helpful. I'm sure that there would be ways how to. Otherwise, we do the old-fashioned way. How many fingers do I have?
Yeah.
and you would have multiple people.
But it worked, right?
Yeah. So that's and in the end, I think you also, the communication between the different parts of development, so the athleticism, the mental training, the cognitive training, the skills training, and also how you play hockey. I understand that's another thing, that when you think of development, you also have a time frame. When they're kids, you have a big, huge room to make mistakes. If you're playing professional, there are a lot of things online, and the coach will have pressure, the players will have pressure. So I can understand that there are systems that you need to, you don't have time to 6 months to work on different things to get it right. You need to figure out a quick system that makes it effective. But I think in the even professionals today, you still have to be able to manage your mind and handle that pressure. So that's where also your optimum performance comes into play.
And with all of this, how did all of these experiences that you've had, from the team experience that you had, the cognitive kind of training that you gave them when they had to play the team in the long drive in Alaska, how did that all circle back into StarZone? How did that happen?
So it comes back to, I wish that I would have had someone helping me early on. My dad, of course, he had a big impact with helping my belief, But as far as hockey knowledge, there was very limited. So it comes back to StarZone is really helping players achieving their goals, their dreams, and not only one little area, because there's so many different areas. So that's what StarZone is founded on. It's my struggles that I had to go through, that I wish that I would have had a place where I can get help to get as far as I can. I had many coaches that I met on the way that have helped me.
Yeah.
But they came in not all together. They came with some years apart, and
you'd have wanted all of that in one place at the same time.
In the same time.
Yeah, like the sort of experience you had the first time you went to Hockey Camp Sweden.
Yeah,
and you walked away with so much knowledge.
So much knowledge, because there's so many different experts. And the interesting part was that these coaches started to talk, and they came up with new ideas, and that's how development.
Creativity and being open, like we said.
Being open like that. And also there were players from different countries that attended. There were players from US, Canada, and there were players from Russia, Germany, Switzerland. So also learning about players, the different cultures, how that also have an effect, which is quite interesting. Today with information, we have so much information.
Yeah.
So I think that the thing that's important is that it's sorting out all the information that is, and try to channel it, and hopefully that all the it's like climbing a mountain. Once someone have climbed the mountain to Mount Everest, there's a trail. There's a success trail here that a model we can follow. Of course, the model can always be improved, but that helps people save their time and energy, and hopefully they will achieve their dreams. So you never know how far you can get unless you try. But time is something that we all have 24 hours a day. Sometimes I wish we had more time. But
I agree.
And then the other part is energy. So to optimize that, help people learn things as quick as possible, then I'm happy to see their progress. So that's sort of the foundation of StarZone and how it was born.
That's epic. I appreciate you sharing that. And of course, as a side note, if you want more information on StarZone, what these guys do, where you can find them, the link will be down below in the video description, as well as a video that's going to be more specialized around what you guys do here, what their methodology is, what things or areas or abilities that they work on in the facility that we're in today. All of that will be linked down below in the video description in a separate video. But I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing the story of how you got from being the worst kid on the team to one of the best coaches that I've ever met, for sure. So it's a pleasure to be here, and looking forward to doing more in Sweden with you guys.
Sounds great.
Yeah, and we also need to share the story of Hockey Camp Sweden.
Yeah, yes.
I'm very interested to figure out how you went to the camp, and now that's something that's under the umbrella of StarZone, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll be a separate one, right?
That will be the next one.
Appreciate it. Thank you,
Thanks,
man.
Chris.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.